I really wish that world events would have given me permission to be a little lighter this Shabbat. But as we know, there are serious potentials and possibilities and events that are happening in the world to which our Torah continues to speak quite plainly to. Moshe's final words are not prose but poetry, not law but song. Ha'azinu hashamayim va'adabera, give ear, O heavens, and I will speak. V'tishma ha'aretz imrifi, and let the earth hear the words of my mouth. Rashi explains, Ha'amid bahem adim shehem kayamin la'olam, that heaven and earth are called to be witness because they endure forever. Generations forget, leaders look the other way, but the heaven and earth testify. Moses leaves a song that Bnei Yisrael cannot ignore. Songs echo, like, earworms, as we call them. They endure. So too in our time, we are being called to listen. On Yom Kippur, Jews in Manchester gathered at Heaton Park Synagogue, and they were attacked. 2 Jews murdered, others wounded. And within hours, an anti-Israel rally filled the streets. Not a vigil, not solidarity, but a protest against Israel. Why? Because leaders have taught that Jewish blood is cheap and that our pain is negotiable. Manchester did not happen in a vacuum. It happened because too many leaders, especially in the Western world, have not paid attention to Hamas and to the movements that support it. Instead, they focus on their domestic audiences. They issue statements calibrated for polling and headlines, not for reality on the ground. That is why statements don't work. They are not read by Hamas as diplomacy. They are read as victories. They are read as permission. They send the message, Jewish lives are for sale. That is what Moses warned. Tzur yadladcha tasi v'tishkach et mochalalecha. You deserted the rock who gave you birth. You forgot the God who brought you forth. The rock, God, moral clarity has been forgotten. But the truth is not hidden. Hamas openly and brazenly tells us who they are. Ha'azinu teaches ha'azinu, give ear, listen, lahavin ulahafnim. It means not just to hear, but to understand, to internalize. So listen to Hamas. They have said over and over again that October 7th was only the beginning. They say we will do it again and again. And those who say from the river to the sea mean that Israel must cease to exist. Now it seems, according to the reporting in the last day, it seems that Hamas is responding positively to the current framework that President Trump put forward and are open to negotiation. What's important at this moment, though, this crucial moment where there's a crack of hope, a crack of light, is to pay even more attention, to listen to not only what they say, but to how they construe this framework, which parts they accept, which they reject, and whether their yes changes their behavior. This is not rhetoric. This is simply paying attention to what they say, and even more importantly, what they do. And yet too many leaders, I am afraid, will pretend not to hear because all they'll hear is the yes, because it complicates the story that they want to tell at home. This is why the international response so often rings hollow. When Hamas slaughters civilians, rapes women, kidnaps children, the outrage is muted. The excuse is plentiful. But when Israel defends itself, outrage explodes. Why the double standard? Because Western leaders are not really listening to Hamas. They're listening to their domestic audiences, the protests in their streets, the pressure on their campuses, the votes that they want to keep. And so they issue statements that sound balanced but ultimately are not. They condemn Hamas with one breath and blame Israel with the next. They speak of restraint and recognition, words meant for politics, not peace. But to Hamas and its allies, these words are not balance. They are victory. They are permission. They say, the violence works. It leads to results. That is why I think Manchester happened. And that is why I am concerned that more danger lies ahead if we and our allies and others do not learn to truly listen. Just days ago, world leaders praised Donald Trump's ceasefire and peace plan. Hostages will be hopefully released, prisoners exchanged, and if the agreement comes to fruition the way in which it is written, Hamas will be disarmed and Gaza eventually rebuilt. Israel accepted, the world applauded. But will Hamas really truly disarm? So the test is actually here right now for the world. Where are these leaders at this moment? They applauded the plan. Will they stand with Israel? Will they call Hamas by its true name, a death cult that glories in martyrdom? Will they support Israel if this latest round fails? Because Hamas reverts to its tactic of yes, but, and tries to negotiate something else. And if Israel is called upon to escalate, to finish the job and destroy Hamas if they reject it, will they support Israel in its attempt to do so? Or will they retreat as has been the pattern into equivocation, condemning terror in one breath and condemning Israel following? The same leaders who said this plan is the way forward, what would they do if Hamas ultimately says no? And what of Canada? Yes, there has been some movement in legislation, bubble zones, both in the city ordinances and now also on the federal level. There have been motions against antisemitism, stronger words in Parliament. But these are partial steps, and they do not address the deeper problem. The ongoing movements of hate on our streets and online, the symbolic gestures of recognition without precondition, the failures to confront Hamas's supporters with the seriousness that they really deserve. Canada, too, is caught in this cycle, saying the right words for domestic audiences while avoiding the deeper challenges. So what do we do? Well, if you were with us on Yom Kippur afternoon during the break, you heard Adam Minsky, our member and president and CEO of UAJA Federation, give us a clear charge that the time has come for Jews to become activists, politically active, engaging our leaders and holding them accountable to the values that they profess and that we profess and that we as a Jewish community desperately need implemented. To become communally active, strengthen synagogues, schools, Jewish organizations, so that our community is resilient no matter what challenges we face. And he said, also, to become spiritually active, more learning, more Torah, more prayer, more engaging, more Jewish living. Because what our enemies want most is silence, fear, retreat. And what we must do is to be loud, proud, united, and flourishing. When we study Torah, when we light Shabbat candles, when we raise Jewish children, when we advocate in Ottawa, we are living Ha'azinu's song. Moses ends his song not in despair, but in hope. Ki yedin Adonai amo, for the Lord will judge God's people, ve'al avadav yitnechem, and show compassion to God's servants. This is not a call to passive faith. It is a reminder that we live in Brit, in covenant, that God's presence inspires us to find courage, to act with justice, to live with strength. So Ha'azinu, let us give ear. Let us listen to Hamas's words and actions and not dismiss them. Let us demand that change precede recognition. Let us insist that leaders who praise President Trump's plan stand firm if Hamas rejects it. And let us never allow Jewish blood to be treated as cheap. May the Rock of Israel, Tzor Yisrael, inspire us with clarity, guide us with strength, and move us to act so our song of resolve will echo until the heaven and earth themselves never forget. Amen.